Hello everyone, and welcome back to Technically Unsure, where I'm not really sure what I'm doing technically.
What am I doing?
One of the questions that many of you actually asked is that why there are so many cheap motherboards for old Xeon E3, E5 CPUs. The most powerful CPU I remember, I think something you can get for those motherboards that I showcased was E5 2699 V4, something like that. And one of you guys also said there's another one that's faster. Doesn't matter. The point is, you all were asking the same thing. Why there are no AMD or why there are no similar Chinese motherboard for newer Xeon CPUs. Main thing is, you need to remember that the cheap Chinese X99 motherboards for old Xeons exist due to the fact that there's a surplus of decommissioned Xeon CPUs from data centers, right? X99 platforms compatibility with DDR4, PCIe 3, both are old, and that cost-effective reuse of like recycled components. Because of all of this, you'll have a lot of X99 motherboards from cheap Chinese manufacturers. AMD lacks a similar presence because the older CPUs, AMD FX or Opteron, those were not widely used in servers. Today, AMD, yes, I know, it's killing it. But for the modern Intel Xeons, it requires a lot of specialized, expensive chipsets and infrastructures that don't suit budget builds. So you're not really going to get a cheap motherboard for very recently released Xeons, AMD EPYC, recent things, right? So that's why if you want something that's budget friendly, very cheap, so you have to go back and get those X99s with the very powerful CPUs. So after all that mumbo jumbo, long story short, if you're looking for $100 new, I say that because all the parts are not new on those motherboards, but if you are looking for a budget friendly modern, you can't go like as low as $100 that like we did for X99. I am going to try to keep price comparison fair. I'm going to give you guys an option for AMD EPYC that uses dual AMD sockets. It's not going to be new. It's going to be used secondhand, whatever you guys call it. I will show you a good option for that. This particular video, okay? I'm going to do another one for same setup, for same system, for Intel ecosystem. It's going to again use a used SuperMicro motherboard. It's going to be relatively cheap, relatively recent Intel Xeon CPU. I will do that video in the future, okay? Trust me. In this video though, we're gonna focus on AMD EPYC. Also remember that these motherboards are usually available from eBay. I might buy it, I might get lucky and my motherboard works. You try that, you get it from a shady seller, yours sucks. So we're showing you cheap options. So we're going to AliExpress, and it's always a seller, like a company at least. And you kind of know you're gonna get the same deal. What I show you in the video, you're gonna get the same thing. So I know there are like thousands of options for AMD dual socket motherboard from SuperMicro and other vendors. I tried to find one that is extremely available in high amounts on eBay and also on even AliExpress and some other websites. So this motherboard, I don't think you will have any issues, any shortage or anything like that. So keep that in mind. I know there are better options, but again, I wanted to keep it fair, keep it cheap, make sure it's dual socket, dual CPU, make sure it's accessible from various websites, and there is a high stock availability in various websites from eBay, AliExpress, and other sites. Okay, are we good? We clear? Good. Now, this particular bad boy that I'm gonna show you guys, it's the SuperMicro H11DSI dual socket, and I paid $500 for this bad boy. Let me take it out. This pizza box that I got from eBay. So this is the H11DSI dual socket motherboard, and this bad boy got an SP3 socket for CPU, right? So there are like 100 different CPUs for the SP3 socket, and I'll try to put a link down below where it lists all the CPUs that you can buy for the SP3 socket. So just be careful though. You need to choose one that is from EPYC 7001 or EPYC 7002. You can't go 3. And also you have to make sure that your SuperMicro H11DSI is V2. Otherwise, you're stuck with EPYC 7001, okay? Kind of confusing, I know, but trust me, it's easy. And I will put a link down below for a list of all the CPUs. So naturally, I went with AMD EPYC 7542. Let me grab it. I have some other crazy ones in here, 7663, but we're not gonna use it here. I got this for you guys. These are AMD EPYC 7542. I paid $400 for each, so 800 and 500 for this, so 1300. So this bad boy is 7 nanometer and SP3 socket, and from the 7002 series, it's 2.9 gigahertz base, 3.4 gigahertz boost, and it does have 32 core each, 64 thread each. So total, I am going to have 64 cores, 128 threads, and they support 8 channel each for the memory, and speed is 3200 MT per second. Okay, I just wanted you to know that this is a little bit expensive choice, and you can absolutely choose something that is better, that works for you and your needs. Okay, I'm gonna go with this. So that being said, let's take the motherboard out. This is exactly how the vendor shipped it on the eBay. So let me grab my knife. Let's do that. Okay, that is beautiful. Okay, so one thing I have to mention that I don't have the CPU socket tool for how much tension it's needed, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to Google the tension for this CPU, and then I'm going to use my tool that I have, set the tension, and use the proper tension for it. So let me first find the proper, I think it's this one. Yep. Okay, so it seems like I have to set this to 1.5 Newton meters for this particular, for the socket and the CPU. So I'm gonna use 1.5 Newton meters. So let me put the CPUs on and grab the coolers that I bought for this. Coolers were like 40 bucks each. I will put that down below. So overall, what I'm gonna achieve is basically I am going to get dual socket AMD, 500 bucks for the motherboard, 800 for the CPUs, which again, as I said, you can get cheaper versions. That's pretty much a RAM. Again, depends on what you want to use. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and another 8. So 16 memory slots, which you can populate. On the back side, there is nothing. It's server motherboard, okay? So here, we are going to populate these two. In here is the power supply and 2 CPU power connectors for each CPU. And these are 2 SATA 3 basically connectors. And there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 PCIe Gen 3. So this one is X8. This is X16, X8, X16, and X8, and these ones are open-ended, so you know you can connect longer boards. These ones are closed, obviously. I also have to populate with a battery over here. Okay, in terms of IO, there is a VGA. There are 2 gigabit Ethernet ports. Wish it was more like 2.5, but unfortunately it's not. Gigabit and gigabit. And these are USB 2s, USB 3.0, and this is IPMI. As you may know, once you have a SuperMicro, you have IPMI most times, if not all. And then there is a serial port. There's SD card slot and NVMe SSD slot over here. 2 SATA ports are over here. Additionally, you can connect a lot more SATAs over here using these 2. So this is basically gonna be 5 and 5, I believe you can connect to SATA. There is this TPM headers, USB 3 header, fan connectors. All right, so that's pretty much it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to open this up. For opening, as you can see, I did it wrong. So you have to start with 3 and then 2 and then 1. There you go, it's already open. Okay, and we are going to carefully remove this. Okay, all good. So for closing, 1, 2, 3, and we have to go with 1.5 Newton meters. Okay, let's do that. You see, if I over tighten it, because I set it to 1.5, I can't even over tighten it because that happens. Okay, so yep, they all are exactly where they're supposed to be. And you keep those, don't throw them away. Let me put everything together and I will be right back.
All right, so I put everything finally together. I am super excited, also very scared. If something explodes, good luck. What I did was, I know for most SuperMicro servers, especially initially when you're trying to get into BIOS and do basic things, it's better if you use VGA. But I'm using StarTech VGA to HDMI adapter. Okay, so you guys gonna see screen recording. That's going to be from that output of VGA converted to HDMI, getting to my capture card. So we're gonna see. If I see fireworks, I'm gonna turn it off immediately. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Ooh, whoa. Okay, look at that. Okay, so far nothing, but it is also very loud. I think it's initially like that. Hopefully it will go down, but maybe not, because those CPUs are very powerful. It might be a little bit challenging me talking over it, but so far nothing on the screen, and I'm worried now. And I don't see fireworks, but also I'm not seeing anything on the screen. But again, these are server motherboards. It takes time to get anything on the screen. So let's see if anything. Oh wow, that went up to 214. Oh my god. Okay, I saw the SuperMicro logo. Oh, all right. All my memory cards detected. 512 gigabyte. I put 16 times 32. So 512 gigabyte RAM, all of them detected. And let's go. So boot features, trusted computing is enabled, PSB firmware, ACPI settings, Super IO configuration, serial port, CPU configuration, CPU 1 information. Let's see that actually. There you go. 32 core, 64 thread, running at 3400 megahertz. Beautiful. Okay, so first try, everything is working fine, but we have to see if everything is actually working fine. So memory configuration, we'll see. Okay, I'm gonna leave everything default. I'm gonna play around, not gonna introduce problems. Okay, one thing I have to enable, SRIOV. We are going to try Proxmox and PCIe pass-through, so I have to enable that. Other than that, I really don't care about any other options. I'm just doing this for you guys. Okay, bifurcation settings are also there. You guys always ask me, is there a bifurcation? This is SuperMicro. You're gonna have everything, okay? So let's keep going. IPMI is there. I'm gonna get back to IPMI later when I actually want to put it in my server rack, not now. So boot options is there. UEFI, Windows Boot Manager, that's gonna be your first setting. Save, changes, and restore. Let's do that. Oh my God, okay. All right, we are booted. And as you can see, the fans slow down. Finally, I can't wait to see this particular screen. Oh my God, I love that. We have a lot of cores and threads, okay? So what I'm gonna do is start some benchmarking. Idle power, I'm not doing anything in Windows. That's 160 already. I'm scared. I don't know what will happen once I start using every single thread on this computer. Okay, so I gotta install a bunch of drivers, I guess. Okay, so it's installing the keyboard and mouse driver. Other than that, I am going to install drivers, check for updates. This is Windows 10. We will try Windows 11 and Proxmox most importantly, because that's where this will show its power. But yeah, this is what we are seeing right now. It's really powerful. So boot time and stuff like that doesn't really matter because it takes long time for initialization in these server motherboards, but let's ignore that. All right, give me some time. Let me figure everything out. Okay, so we are back. I did two things. I put a graphics card, I put a TPM module that I had for SuperMicro, and I booted into Windows 11. Okay, so this is Windows 11. And as you can see, when it's idle and I just have Chrome and bunch of results of the benchmarks open, it's just 140 watts. But when I was doing a benchmark, it was jumping to 500 watts. Okay, GPU is not being used. As you can see, HDMI is not plugged in and I'm not really using it. It might be drawing, I don't know, 20 watts or something, but it's not used. So keep that in mind. I was getting 480 to 500 watts when I was doing benchmark on both CPUs. Okay, and as you can see, this is the CPU Z scores and results. Yeah, it's not fair to compare this bad boy to i9-13900, but yeah, if we compare it, it's basically more than 3 times, so it's near 4 times. Okay, so 4 i9-13900KS, if you put that together, it's going to be matching this bad boy. So it's very powerful. So let me just show you very quickly a couple scores. So this is the CPU Z results, which is basically 34,000. Okay, and here you can see the CPU, and socket 1 is here and socket 2 is here. Okay, so you can see all that, and the motherboard is here, and graphics, although this is there, but we are not using it, okay? Let me show you a couple more things. This is the 3D Mark score, which is 10,000. Here is Cinebench 2024 score, which is 3,000. And here is the disk benchmark score for NVMe SSD, which is a little bit below what I expected, but it is there. One more thing, I want you all to see when a benchmark is executed, what happens, the fans ramp up. Oh, by the way, if you want to see that the cooler is actually doing an amazing job, I'm impressed that for like 40 bucks, this is killer. So here you can see that temperatures are acceptable, and in here 40 degrees right now when it's idle, 37. My room is chilly, my room is cool, it's probably 20 something, 2 Celsius. Fahrenheit I think it's like 70. Okay, so that being said, here is the clocks and everything, and the CPU temperatures are here, so everything is within acceptable ranges. Now look at this. When I start the benchmark, 1 2 3, look at it, there you go, it's ramped up fans. It's not utilizing the whole thing, it's now went to single core. I just wanted you all to see that and hear the fans, and ramped up, everything went up to 55, and now it's coming back. Cooling is working and efficient. Power consumption, I showed you CPU-Z, Cinebench 2024, 3D Mark score, and the SSD score. This is just Windows 11, so I just want you all to see that it is Windows 11 Pro, and I installed everything out of box, everything worked. Okay, so that being said, I am going to now boot into Linux, Ubuntu, and we are going to do a bunch more tests in there. For instance, Sysbench, StressNG, and iPerf, and then I will install Proxmox. Give me a couple of minutes. All right, we are back, and as you can see, I am in Ubuntu 24, and I replaced this, and I removed the graphics card for now. We don't need it. We just want to see the power consumption of just the board and the CPU. So here you can see the details of the fast fetch. So these are the information of 2 AMD EPYC 7542 30 core, and as you can see, I have a bunch of cores over here, right? You can see that over here, and 128 threads. Okay, so now I am going to do a StressNG test. Okay, so I started the test. It ramps up to 460 watts without the GPU. So that's the important point, to 460. So what I was saying is correct. When it was there, it was showing 480 in Windows. When I was doing benchmarks, it's basically 20 watts for the graphics card. Those are the temperatures and the CPU consumption and usage. Okay, I don't see any issues here. Just a couple of them is not really 100%, but it's just going up and down. Some of the cores, some of the threads. Oh my god, I don't think I've ever seen that big of a number in the videos that I did for YouTube, at least. So that is, yes, 3.8 million. So 3.8 million score for 460 watts. So in this bad boy, I can assure you, you can run probably 100 virtual machines with no trouble, especially if you handle the storage right. One of the things that I did was I set up a Proxmox for a project, and we noticed the bottleneck was the hard disk drive. So make sure you use SSD or NVMe SSD. As long as you have a proper SSD, I guarantee you, you can run probably 150 virtual machines with no trouble. So that being said, let's check the DMID code 17, and as you can see, we have ECC enabled and 512 gigabyte ECC RAM. Just for the fun, I am going to run Sysbench as well. As you can see, it doesn't even go to like 460s, it's just half that. Okay, that's just some score. So yeah, 110,000 in Sysbench. Okay, one more thing I want to test is the iPerf 3. Okay, that should be gigabit. Yep, it is gigabit. So I am going to also try Olama. Let me see what I have. Okay, I already have Olama and Olama 3.1. Let's run it verbose. Okay, I'm gonna count and time everything. That's the first time I'm running it in this system since the boot, basically. So let's see how long it takes. That is very fast. No GPU, we're using just CPU. Let's see the score. So there you have it. We have 48.2 tokens per second. Yeah, I just wanted to show you guys as well. You can run much larger models with this setup. Llama 3.1 is nothing for this, but I just wanted to show you guys that's the score you can get with Llama 3.1. Now, we tested a LLM models as well. So now, the one thing I just wanted to show you guys as well was the Proxmox. I am going to swap the SSD, install Proxmox, put back the GPU so we can do a pass-through, and I will be right back. All right, we are back. Okay, so here's my computer, 172-1614, and this is that machine 128, EPYC 7542, 32 core, okay? I just want to show you, just so you can see how long it takes for it to boot container. You want to see a little bit more of the speed, it's fast, okay? And let me show you one better. Look at this. Windows 11 PCI pass-through, and I have done NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 CUDA, and I'm getting 13,800 points, which is absolutely no performance loss because it's doing whatever I'm doing. And I just want to show you as well in the device manager, so you know there is no trickery going on here. There you have it. So I have 4070, and you can see in the hardware, this is the PCIe device, and I am basically passing this 4070 to the guest machine. So this is completely working fine, and I am going to shut this down, and I am going to now attach this very same GPU to the Ubuntu machine. And as you can see in this GPU, in the PCIe device, as you can see, this GeForce RTX 4070 is selected. That's what I am passing through. So let's go to the console. Let's start this. Well, of course it works. Guys, I set it up. I wanted to show you guys that everything is working. So let's log into Ubuntu. Okay, so as you can see, I run NVIDIA SMI. There you have it. Okay, so I have 4070 connected now to the Ubuntu machine. You can connect not the consumer devices, but like RTX or 8000 or some other GPU, whatever you like. So I just wanted to show you guys that it works perfectly well. And power consumption, by the way, is right over here. It's showing 125. One container, and Ubuntu desktop is running on it. So when the virtual machines are doing nothing, let's go here. Okay, as you can see, there's not much of a CPU usage, although I gave a lot of cores to the Ubuntu machines and not much of a load on the server. And that's on 117, 115, 30, it goes up and down, and it's now quiet down. You see the fans are now ramping up. It's super quiet. Did I miss anything now? You guys, every time I do something, you come back and say, okay, how about this? How about that? Okay, I hope I covered everything. We walked through BIOS, we covered Windows 11, Windows 10, we covered Proxmox, we covered GPU pass-through, we covered everything. And I did benchmarks on Windows, on Linux, on the CPU, on the GPU. So you got everything. Just again, to reminder to finally summarize, I got the motherboard dual, and to compare, I got this dual because I wanted to be a fair match for X99 that I showcased, 19G1 for instance, that you guys liked it a lot. So I just wanted to show you guys that this is $500 for the base board. And for the CPU, again, you can get something that is a lot more affordable, but this is the $400 CPU, so two of them $800. And for the RAM, I used 32 gigabyte 2400 RAMs on every single slot, and I got 512 gigabyte RAM. And then for the GPU, again, you can run it without GPU. As you can see, I'm running it all over the HDMI over VGA, right? I'm not even using the GPU. I'm passing it to the guest OS, and guest OS is using it, right? We did the same in Windows. So basically 500 for the motherboard and the rest of the cost. I tried to show you guys as another option and a super powerful AMD based server. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm super excited to put this in my server rack and start using it. So I'm gonna say goodbyes to you guys. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.